All right. I think I posed this question to Nathan last night and to Ben as well, James. Is part of the disappointment or part of the bitterness, resentment, whatever phrase or terminology you want to put on it concerning your own personal feelings and also the fan base, has to do with losing a coach that you believe is one of the top coaches in the country, and that being the loss, or just simply the loss being, why are we being discarded for another program when it's never happened to Notre Dame before? You know, we can list the 5 programs basically in that range in the country that we never expected somebody would leave to go anywhere but the NFL.
I'm not sure if I really have a good enough answer because I just don't understand. That's, LSU is a great program in the SEC, but at the same point, it doesn't come with the same territory that Notre Dame has, being as widespread as it is across the country with the brand and everything. And then all the recruiting that he could get from across the whole entire country. I don't know. I mean, whether this was just to, satisfy something that he wants to do, whether it has to do with his frustrations with getting facilities done with staff or even getting a new stadium, from what I've heard. I think right now all this is just speculation, but I don't know what the true answer is.
So I don't disagree with anything that you've stated. I also enjoy my role of playing the other side, which would be 3 national championships at LSU since 2003. Much like what was talked about with Lincoln Riley being tied to LSU in the argument over which is a better program, one of them consistently wins, Oklahoma/Notre Dame. The other one wins more sporadically, but when they do, they've reached the summit 3 times in the last 18 years.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a very valid point overall, Mark. And I don't think anybody's arguing really that it might be easier to win a national championship at LSU, at least in today's college football landscape. But it does go back to a lot about, just what you said last night and today. It is unprecedented for someone to leave Notre Dame in the fashion that Kelly did. I mean, there is an argument to be made, and I think Jack Swarbrick, Notre Dame's athletic director, mentioned this in the press conference today, that guys don't usually stay at Notre Dame, that much longer than what Kelly did. I mean, I think right now he's the second longest tenured coach in the history of Notre Dame. Has been there longer than a lot of the head coaches that won multiple national championships. So, but none of those guys, at least from my knowledge, I'd have to kind of look back on some of the history, from my knowledge, left for a program to, and I think it's more of a surface level thing. Like on the surface, it looks like he left to for his role to be a little bit easier. But then again, I mean, another thing that Jack Swarbrick kind of mentioned in his press conference today was that there have been some, subtle hints and things that Kelly has done in recent years and, even somewhat recently, the last couple weeks that kind of pointed towards him just wanting maybe a change. And I think that goes back to something you said a little bit earlier. So it wasn't necessarily the idea that LSU is easier or LSU is, going to win a national championship in the next 5 years with Brian Kelly, but it was just something new for him and his family. Maybe he was getting a little bit bored at Notre Dame. And then I think what James said is also very true. And I think this is part of the reason is that there are probably some frustrations in regards to facilities and other things like that. But I do think that was maybe second to some of these other points.